Hi, I'm Mandy, and I just came back from the best trip to Niagara Falls for my birthday. Yes, I went alone. Yes, I had a fantastic time because I love to travel by myself. I'm going to share with you how much my entire trip cost me, every single expense, so that you can try to determine if Niagara Falls is a good destination for you. I'm going to start with the upfront expenses, the things that I paid for before I ever left my home in Maryland, and all the subsequent expenses all the way until I was back at home in Maryland. First, I had some expenses. There were 4 expenses that I paid for before I ever arrived in the state of New York, and that's going to be my airfare, my accommodation, my ground transportation, and then the missed rents. For my airfare, it was $299.97 for me to go from Baltimore Washington International, so BWI Airport, to Buffalo with the airport code BUFF. And it was a very short flight. It was just under 50 minutes each way, and it was $299.97. And I want to say I bought it maybe about 2 months in advance. Then I had my accommodation. During this trip, I stayed in a hotel. I stayed in the same hotel the entire time to make things nice and easy. My hotel was the Doubletree by Hilton. It was a very nice hotel. I really enjoyed my stay, and I paid $428.84 for that. My third expense before I left was the ground transportation, and I always reserve my rental car in advance. Like, there is no chance that I'm going to get somewhere and get stuck without a vehicle. So I always rent a car where I can rent a car, especially in the United States. My rental car was $183.54. And to mention, my trip was 5 days, 4 nights. So these expenses are for a 5-day trip. Okay, now I'm ready to go. And then my rent. I pay rent, but if you have a mortgage, whatever a portion of your mortgage be. So for 4 nights of rent, what I would pay is $166. So I paid that even though I wasn't here. So I'm counting that as an expense because I'm double paying for nightly accommodations, both here at my apartment in Maryland and at the hotel in Buffalo, New York. So altogether, before I ever left home, my expenses were $1,078.35. And again, that's airfare, accommodation, ground transportation, and missed rent. From here on, I will go through my actual itinerary of the things I did, and some things will have a fee associated and some things will be free activities, and I'll just share with you a breakdown of everything. Okay, first I had to get from my apartment in Baltimore to BWI Airport, and I took an Uber. I'm just waiting for my Uber, and then I'm on my way to the airport. And that cost was $36.81. I will share with you a tip on using Ubers is that you want to get the price probably at least 3 times before you actually book. And I learned this accidentally when I was trying to get from BWI to my house the last time I traveled, and I kept dropping the internet. And so I would go to reserve my car, and then the internet would go out. The Wi-Fi at the airport is not the best. So I would do it again, and the price would change. And it would maybe only be 10 or 20 seconds in between, but the price would have gone down maybe $5. And I thought that was crazy. So I'm like, oh, I was trying to book it, and then the internet would go down again. And then I do it again, and it would be down another $3. And then I do it again, and it might have gone up $1. At the end of it, I want to say I saved about $10. And I learned that trick, again, accidentally, but it was a really great find. And I did that intentionally this time, is that when it was like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm outside at the curb. getting ready to order my Uber, and I checked the price and it was almost $50. And I live right next to the airport. So I clicked the back button and I got out of it, and then I counted to 15, and then I did it again and the price was down to $39.99. So I clicked the back button and waited 30 seconds and did it again. I did that a couple times, and when it got down to the $36, then I clicked the book button. So you can save a little money. It will take you, I think I spent about 5 minutes doing that, but I saved a good amount of money. And like I said, like $50 was just, to me, it was ridiculous because I am like right around the corner from the airport. So that was my Uber trip and how I got to the airport. Next was an attraction. I went to Forest Lawn Cemetery, and it was a very nice experience, and it didn't cost a thing. They do not charge, so I got to do that one for free. My next expense was my meals. It was a grocery delivery. I use Walmart Plus to have my groceries and my household items, pretty much anything I need delivered. And I do that at home, but I also do that when I travel. So if I'm traveling in the United States and I forget to pack something, I just schedule a Walmart Plus delivery, and they'll bring it anywhere that is anywhere near a Walmart. So there was a couple times when I have sent things to my hotel or to any place in between. You can send it to really anywhere that you would like to get a delivery. So I had groceries delivered, and I set up groceries to be delivered that same night ahead of time, and I just had them delivered at the hotel. So my groceries for that first night were $32.35. That wasn't supposed to happen. My next expense was a museum. Oh, it was not. It was a historical site, and that was, I stopped at the oldest schoolhouse sign in New York, and that was free. It was just a sign, but it was lovely. It was part of my unplanned itinerary, so no expense there. Next was an attraction. I did the Maid of the Mist, which was a super incredible experience. It was worth every penny of the $28.95, and that includes a small fee to use the elevator that goes up and down. You don't even know the expenses there. They just build it right in, but they do explain that the elevator charge is included in that. So if you wanted to just take the elevator and just go up or down, you would pay that like $1.25 on its own. Oh, and to mention, all of the prices are in US dollars because I'm in the US. So just, if you're in Canada or if you're going to Canada, the pricing will be different, but this is in US dollars. Okay, next I had a toll going into Canada. On day 3, I drove to Canada, which was really exciting because it was my first time crossing an international border by vehicle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am 6 cars away from being in Canada. Oh, 5 cars. 5 cars away. And that was, in Canadian dollars, it was $10.75, and in American dollars, that equals about $8. And that $8 is round trip. You don't have to pay it twice. So you only pay it once when you enter Canada, and then it's really $4 each way, but they assume, as you have to, when you go into Canada that you're going to leave and come back into the United States. So your $8 will cover you both ways. The next attraction was a historical site, and I went to Old Fort Erie in Canada, and it was really cool. It was my first time seeing a fort that was not in the United States like this. It was very cool. It was very similar to Fort McHenry here in the Baltimore area. It was really neat to learn about the Canadian War history. But that was in Canadian dollars. It was $15.82, which in US dollars is about $11.75. Next, the animal shelter. I went to Last Chance Horse and Pony Rescue and Sanctuary. I had the best day. I got to kiss a lot of horses.
Don't smell it.
And you got one? It'll cost you 1 kiss. Oh! Hey, You sneaky.
I did that the first time.
There was no cost for that. They were really sweet, and they do allow the public to come, and there isn't a cost. I did give them a donation and a tip, but I am not including any tips or any donations in my calculation for the price, because tipping and donations, those are all very personal, and they may apply, they may not apply, depending on what your culture is and your thoughts and feelings on tipping. So I'm not including any of the additional money I paid. I'm just including the actual expense that the business charges. Next, at the end of day 3, I just went to open up my mini fridge, and there was nothing in it but some celery. So I went to the grocery store. I went to Trader Joe's, which is one of my favorites, and my groceries for the rest of the trip were $35.71. I'm sorry, $34.71, and I did have some groceries left over. So I ended up going to the airport with a big bag of food because I didn't want to run out again, and I'd rather have too much than not enough. So I just had 2 grocery expenses. I did not eat out. I didn't go to any restaurants. I didn't go to any fast food, which I think is a big cause for celebration, because I used to be terrible at going out of town and not planning properly and just going to get fast food for each meal. Or I would, if I stopped at a grocery store, I would just do it one meal at a time. And I don't like to take time out of my precious vacation minutes to continuously go to the store over and over, which is why I love Walmart Plus so much, because you can pre-plan your grocery deliveries and they'll be there at the time they say they're going to be there. Your groceries will be nice and cold and exactly as you ordered them. So that has been a really big help for me. Okay, we are now on to day 4. I went to the Pierce Arrow Buffalo Transportation Museum. Oh, please do not touch. They should put a big giant sign. The cost was $20, but they had the coolest cars. Playboy was a car, this beauty here, before it was a magazine. I spent almost the entire day in their museum, and I think the owner was getting a little bit nervous that I was never going to leave. I really enjoyed it there. So it was $20 well spent. And you're gonna notice here that a lot of the attractions, like $20 was pretty much the average for just about anything you want to do. It's gonna be about $20. My next stop was another museum. I did the Carousel Museum. Okay, this is a player piano from 1922. You may not know this, but I am now an expert at playing the player piano. It was only $5, and I did give them my student ID, and that cut the entry fee in half. And then I did leave a tip and a donation. So their staff was amazing. They were so nice, and they made my visit very special. And then next I had an accidental toll. I normally set my GPS to avoid tolls in the settings, but I do like to occasionally, when I'm someplace new, to do the route both ways. I like to do it with the toll and then without the toll to see if it's going to be a big extra journey. So it was $1.26, and then there's a $2 administration fee. That's that expense. Okay, next at the end of day 4 was my grand finale of the trip, my final birthday celebration, which I chose to do Cave of the Winds. And that ticket was $21, and then there was no parking fee and no fee to enter. And Niagara Falls, if you don't know, it's in Niagara Falls State Park. And I did read online that there's an entry fee into the park, but I went in and out of the park several times, and there was never a fee. There is a $10 to $15 parking fee at 2 of the 4 parking lots. I parked in parking lot 3, and there was no fee for that. And then it was just a short walk over to Cave of the Winds. Okay, a note though is that when I put in the GPS address, it took me to lot 2. And then the parking attendant was really nice, and I told him that I thought I was at parking lot 3, and then he told me to just keep going, and like he opened the gate for me and allowed me to drive through parking lot 2 to get to parking lot 3. But don't be confused if you do decide to go to Niagara and you're trying to get to parking lot 3 or parking lot 4. 3 and 4 are the ones that don't charge a fee. Parking lot 4 is always free, and parking lot 3 is free Monday through Thursday. So if you go on a Friday through weekend and you park in parking lot 3, it will be $10 or $15. Okay, my next expense is on day 5. My last day of the vacation was over. So at this point, I was just trying to get to the airport and make my way back home. So I did have to fill up gas in my rental car, because you do not want to turn those in without a full tank of gas. Gas in Buffalo was about $3.74 per gallon. And the rental agreement said that if you did not fill it all the way up, for each gallon they had to fill it up, it was almost $12. So there's quite a big markup. So if you're new to renting a car, take the extra few minutes and fill it completely full before you turn it back in. So my gas was $31.41 for those 5 days. I had it for 4 nights. So I had it from 10:30 in the morning on Monday, and then I turned it in by 10:30 a.m. on Friday. So I had four 24-hour periods, and the gas was $31.41. Next, I had to get another Uber to get back to my apartment in Baltimore. And that one was pretty close to the original one, and it was $34.90. Okay, so that is it for my expenses. I'll now give you a total based on category. So my airfare was $299.97. That was my only airfare. My hotel accommodation was $428.84. My ground transportation, which included everything on the ground, from my rental car to parking to tolls to gas, anything related to ground transportation, was $297.32. All of my food was $67.06. The attractions came out to $86.70. And my missed rent was $166. All of that together came out to $1,345.89. Okay, that was everything I spent for my very awesome birthday trip to Niagara Falls, New York, and Canada.